it up.
Hello, I'm Erin Lale, and I am running with the Libertarian Party. We want to get government's eyeball out of your window and its hand out of your pocket. Thank you very much.
My name is Dan Hill. I'm the Republican candidate running in AD 29. We're running on a very basic platform of economic diversification, increased jobs, and improved education. And I think these three things will work together in the Assembly to get Nevada back on track.
Hi, my name is Rowena Richards. My question is, are you willing to break party ranks if you don't agree with what your party is supporting?
I agree with everything my party supports.
I also tend to be pretty in a lot of agreement with the Republicans, but both parties make mistakes. And I studied ethics in college, so I'd be prepared if the Republicans wanted me to do something that I simply couldn't go along with, like a business tax, for example. I couldn't, at this point, I don't think I could get on board.
Yes, my name is Donald Woolbright. As you know, the state of Nevada is derived primarily from sales and gaming tax, and they've been in a downward free fall. And based on that, they've had to make some tough decisions, the legislators. If you were elected and they were to come back and say that you were another, $30, $40 billion down, what would you do? Would you raise taxes? Would you cut services again? Would you do a combination of both, or do you have some other idea? Thank you.
Hi, this is Erin Lale. The Libertarian Party has a plan to balance the budget. We want to end marijuana prohibition so that marijuana can be taxed. We can spend less on prisons, free up police resources. Thank you.
Hi, this is Dan Hill. I think the notion that we have a revenue problem is incorrect, especially when you look at states that have supposedly very broad tax bases. Massachusetts, Wisconsin, California, they're in just as much of a slump as we are. So we have to
actually, if you could hold on a second, yes. Because the Marine Riders are outside the revenue engines. Like. So we got plenty of time. We got about an hour because the next two seats non-RSVP. So we got plenty of time to make up for the Marine Riders.
Is that the last one?
No, not yet. Hold on.
Bikers and jarheads always coming here.
Okay, all right. Well, the door is closed, so go ahead and continue mission.
This is Dan Hill again. The tax revenue problem, I think, is a myth, especially when you look at Massachusetts, California, Minnesota. All of them have very, quote-unquote, broad tax bases, a high state income tax, business taxes, corporate income tax. And percentage-wise, they're down more or less the same as we are. I think there's a lot we can look at before any taxes are considered, such as the 10.5% contribution that state employees get to their 401ks, the 95% contribution that they get to their retirement. These are things you don't see in any private sector job whatsoever. You're looking in the hundreds of millions in terms of spending. When you look at just retirement and 401k matching, the purse has an unfunded liability of $6.7 billion over the next 10 years. So these are lots of things that we can look at that have to be adjusted in statutes such as 288 collective bargaining. I mean, these are all big things that we can look at before any taxes are considered. So I think there's hundreds of millions of dollars in spending problems that can be addressed before any taxes are looked at.
Hi there, Mike Murray, a firearms trainer here in town. One of the things that everyone talks about education. We got to fix the education problem. One of my favorite things is my son that goes to a private school that I get to pay twice for, and his tuition is half of what is spent on education by the state. Part of the reason I think private schools work better is because I see the money. It's my money. I want to make sure I'm getting value for my dollar. It's not just a place I kick him loose to and he's on his own. Throwing money at it doesn't seem like the way to go. Tell me what you guys will think you ought to do to make the education get a little more bang for the buck.
And this is Erin Lale. I support school choice. If I'm elected, I will work for getting a school choice program so that the money follows the student, not funding the entrenched bureaucracy.
Hi, this is Dan Hill again. I think we both agree on school choice. That's huge. NPRI recently did a study that compared Nevada education and Florida education, which are fairly comparable, and to see what Florida has done with the same amount of money compared to what Nevada has done. It's really quite remarkable. I think just in terms of no new funding but reallocation, you have 87% of Clark County School District budget is spent on administration and benefits, which just leaves 13% that trickles down to the classroom. In addition to which, you have half of Clark County School District employees, excluding the bus drivers and the cafeteria workers and all that, office employees, half of them never work inside a classroom. They're in the bureaucracy, they're in the administration. Those are two big things I see a problem with how we're spending the money. In addition to school choice, I think things like a very public and published grading system of schools, where each school gets a letter grade that everybody knows about, and the failing schools have to give the students there an opportunity to move to another school. I think that would go a long way in putting a lot more accountability on the teachers. I think another thing that would work, just in terms of getting extra funding, but also in a very honest assessment of teachers, is to allow student performance to enter into judging how well teachers are doing. At this point, we don't do that. The special session didn't address it, and that excluded over $100 million in Race to the Top funds, federal funds. But also, it's excluding a huge part of the teacher's performance from assessing how well they're doing. And I think lastly, what worked very well in Florida, and I think what worked very well in a western state like Nevada, is to make it easier for professionals to transition from professional work to teaching work. There's no reason why you should have to go back to college and take 12 education credits and jump through all these hoops. If you've been an accountant your entire life and you want to retire into teaching math, that process needs to be streamlined and made a lot easier. So these are some of the big things I think that can make very macro changes in the education. There also needs to be a paradigm shift in the way teachers look at it. I mean, the school district does not exist to employ adults. The superintendent, when the budget cuts first started coming out, he said this might be an opportunity for teachers to reassess why they're in the teaching industry. And it's not for golden benefits, and it's not for all of that, it's to educate children. So that's a less tangible change, but one that is also needed.
Hi, Maria Duncan. I keep asking this question, but is there any specific, like 2 specific goals that you have for your district?
Hi, this is Erin Lale. I suppose almost everyone has heard by now that the State Assembly couldn't balance the budget in its regular session, had to go into a special session, and instead of either cutting the budget, the solution favored by conservatives, or raising taxes, the solution favored by liberals, they raided local coffers. For example, the Clean Water Coalition, they raided them to the tune of over $60 million. When you rob Peter to pay Paul, you only enrich Peter's lawyer. As you know, the M Resort has filed a lawsuit to get back their share, which was $700,000. If I'm elected, I plan to introduce legislation to define fees in Nevada law so that fees collected for a specific purpose must be used for that purpose or given back to the taxpayers. Thank you.